Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Giddy Knits podcast. Today is Saturday the 5th of August 2017 and this is a knitting and crochet podcast where I share with you all my lovely crafty things that I've been up to, my knitting. I have some crochet this week, hence it's a crochet podcast. Yeah, let's just sit and chat and share all the crafty goodness. So I'm Helen, as many of you know, and I'm coming to you, as I usually do, from Surrey in the United Kingdom, where I live with my husband Thom and my two boys, Arthur, who's 3.5, and Jasper, who is 9 months. And in fact, he is 9 months old today. He was a bonfire baby, as we keep calling him. He was born on the 5th of November, which in the UK, for those of you in the UK, is Guy Fawkes Night or Bonfire Night. He made me miss the fireworks. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Giddy Helen. I also have a new hand-dyed yarn business, which you can find on Instagram as Giddy Yarns, and on Etsy. My Etsy shop is Giddy Yarns as well. And I have a website, which is giddyyarns.com. Everything that I talk about today will be linked down below in the show notes. The video in the show notes can also be found on the website, giddyyarns.com, and in our Ravelry group, because we have a Ravelry group. And the Ravelry group for the podcast is Giddy Knits Podcast, which you can find either linked below, usually, I think, or by searching Giddy Knits Podcast in the groups tab on Ravelry. Right, excuse me this week if I take more sips of water or tea than usual. I'm really bunged up. I've got a bit of a summer cold, which seems to be turning into possibly a sinus infection. And annoyingly, at the moment, I can't take decongestants because I'm breastfeeding. So if anyone knows of any really good natural decongestants, anything that I can take while breastfeeding that will help get rid of all this congestion, that would be lovely. But yeah, if I'm drinking more throughout the podcast, then I apologise. I hope it doesn't distract you. Also, my hair is doing crazy things today. I was going to wear it down, but then I got too hot. But I washed it and I put it in plaits the other day, so it's all a bit, yesterday, so it's all a little bit crinkly and a bit curly and it's all gone a bit boof. Okay, anyway, so if you're new to the podcast, welcome. It's lovely that you've come to check me out. And if you're an existing viewer, then welcome back. Thank you for coming again week after week. As usual, my show notes are just here, which is why I'm looking away from the camera. I try not to do it, but I'm dreadful at it. What else do I want to say? If you are new and you would like to subscribe to my channel, then please hit subscribe down below if you're watching on YouTube. And that will keep you up to date with all the videos that I upload. And if you enjoy the video, please hit the thumbs up as well, just down below, because that just gets the video out there a little bit more. Right, I think that is all my welcome spiel, which I'm always really rubbish at. Although it's only taken me one attempt this week, so that is a bonus. I have got some admin-y things. In fact, I've got quite a few admin-y things. So let's just start with the summer stripe-along. The summer stripe-along is running until the end of August, so it finishes on the 31st of August. And I've talked about it on the podcast before. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically it's a craft along. It's being hosted over on Ravelry. We have a Ravelry group for it, which is the Summer Stripe Along group on Ravelry. And it's a co-hosted podcast. There are a number of podcasters involved. There's me, obviously. There is Emily of AndersMill Knits. There is Amy of Hudson Valley Knits. There is Karen of SimplyStashless. And there is also Marcy and Kim of Destined to Knit, which is an audio podcast. I think that's everybody. Hopefully I've not forgotten anyone. So we all got together at the beginning of the summer and came up with the idea of hosting this craft along. The basic concept is that you knit or crochet or craft anything stripy throughout June, July and August, and you can enter into the finished objects thread in the Ravelry group to win prizes. And there are quite a lot of prizes, so go on over and check the thread out. Obviously, if you cast anything on after the 1st of June and it involves stripes and you can finish it before the 31st of August, then come on over and enter it. You might win an amazing prize. Yes, the other thing I wanted to say is you need to be a member of the Summer Stripe Along group to win for prizes. I did notice in the finished objects thread there were a couple of people in there who are guests, and they won't be, if you're in there as a guest, you won't be eligible for prizes. You need to actually join the group. And if you're not sure how to do that, when you're looking at the group page, up in the top right hand corner there is a little button that says join this group, and that's all you need to press. Okay, so that is the Summer Stripe Along. And the next announcement I have, so Emily has set up an amazing podcasters group on Ravelry called the Podcasters Water Cooler. So if any of you out there that watch me are podcasters and you haven't heard of it yet, then go and check it out. It is just for podcasters, but it is an amazing resource. It's got threads to be able to talk about everything from editing software to YouTube hints and tips. And it's just a really good sort of safe place for podcasters to be able to discuss everything. And it's such a fantastic idea, and it has really, really taken off. It's amazing. But within that, she suggested an idea for a Advent mini swap. So a group of podcasters, and I can't say who they all are yet, I don't think. I haven't got it there. I got my phone here. Hang on a sec. Sorry. I will tell you about it while I look this up. So a number of podcasters have expressed interest. Basically the idea is that it is it's called 24 Days of Christmas Cheer. And it's an Advent mini swap. Sorry, this is really bad, isn't it, looking up while I'm talking to you. Here we go. Where's her list of people? There it is. Okay. So it's an Advent mini swap. And the idea is that we swap 24 mini skeins, but although that sounds like a lot, half of those need to be from Stash. And we are only looking for sort of, I think it's 5 to 7 grams as a mini skein is what we're asking. So that's not actually a lot if you think about it. I mean, anybody who knits with 4-ply, you end up with masses of scraps, and it doesn't take a lot to wind it into a mini skein. And so it's going to be a mini skein swap, 24 minis. There's also the option to join in and get 100 gram skein in addition, to swap 100 gram skein in addition. So check out, sorry, I've really not explained this very well, have I? Right, I'm going to put in the Ravelry group, I am going to put a thread called 24 Days of Christmas Cheer, and that will have all the details for the swap in it. There is a link to sign up via Google something or other. That's not very good, is it? Where is it? Via Google, a Google form. It's a Google form that you go and you fill in, and there's various options which you can choose, which holiday you're celebrating, what type of fibres you would like to swap. So if you don't knit with wool, you can choose cotton and other fibres. Whether you want the 100 gram skein or not. There are lots and lots of options within this. So I will link that in the Ravelry group, in the thread. But if you're interested, go and check out the thread. There are quite a few people involved. So let me just see. So there is Kate from the Hawthorne Cottage podcast. And I apologise, ladies, if I get any of your podcasts wrong, the names of your podcasts wrong. All I've got here is your Ravelry names, which makes things a little bit more complicated. Although actually, maybe if I go and look in, sorry, hang on. So distracted today. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I'm always distracted. Focus is not a thing for me at the moment. I still blame it on Baby Bone. Here we go. Well done, Emily. Emily has got a post in her thread with all of the podcasters listed with their podcast names. Perfect. You're a star. Right. So the podcasters so far involved, and this is still open for more podcasters to get involved. So it may expand. But the podcasts involved so far are Emily of AndersMill Knits, Kate, who is the Hawthorne Cottage podcast, so it's Hawthorne Cottage Craft, and I met Kate at Fibre East last weekend, which was lovely. Then there is the Crafty Toads podcast, which is a new to me podcast. In fact, most of these are new to me podcasts. The Crafty Toads podcast, Never Cast Off, Caffeinated Knitting, Flame and Fibre podcast, and Cherry Pearls podcast. I had a little bit of a fangirl moment when I realised that the Cherry Pearls podcast was going to be involved, because I've watched that for quite a long time. And when when Robin popped up on the feed saying, oh, I'd be interested, I was like, oh, yes, yes, yes. Anyway, fangirl moment over. That's it. So far there are 7 of us that are involved in it. So it should become quite a big swap. But yeah, I will put all the information in there. And actually now I'm on here, I can tell you all the details. So 24 mini skeins of 5 to 7 grams each. At least 12 of these need to be from Stash. There's also an option to provide a full skein for the 25th day. It can be customizable. So you can customize it with what type of fibre you prefer, what type of holiday you want to, you're celebrating. So if you don't celebrate Christmas, you can customize it for Hanukkah and other non-Christmas based holidays. So the swaps, it's going to open for sign-ups. Well, it is open for sign-ups. It opened for sign-ups yesterday on the 4th of August. We will be assigning the swap partners by the 17th of September. And all swap packages need to be mailed or posted by the 15th of November. So that's quite a long time to gather up your minis. I mean, what is it now? We're talking about, it's now the 5th of August, and it needs to be sent by the 15th of November. So you've got September, October, November. You've got 3 months before it needs to be posted. Okay, you can specify whether you are willing to do international or only domestic shipping. And the only thing we ask is that each mini skein is packaged individually. So I'm planning on doing mine just individually in tissue paper. And that's so that people can open them as an advent calendar, which is lovely, and you won't get it all. It'll be a surprise every single day. And the other thing we've said is that on the 12th day, sorry, I do that during a podcast quite often, lean forward. So I need to set it to not do it. The screen on my laptop turns off. I record with a HD webcam on the laptop, and the screen on my laptop turns off, and I find it really hard to record if I can't see myself. So that's just me moving the mouse so that I can see myself again. Anyway, what was I about to say? The last thing. Oh yeah, the other thing is that on the 12th day, we ask that you include your favourite holiday recipe. So that could be anything. I mean, in the UK, we'd be looking at like mince pies or something like that. So just so that somebody gets a little bit extra. And also feel free to include some little notions, but we ask that the main part of the swap is the minis. What we don't want is we don't want it to become a big price point for people. It needs to be affordable for anyone to join in. We're accepting hand-dyed yarn and commercial yarn. That is perfectly fine. But it is, yeah, we ask that it be for absolutely everyone to join in. So no big notions and things like that. But also at the same time, don't feel like you have to include notions. Yeah, okay, so I think that is everything. I am going to literally, Emily has given me permission to copy her post in her Ravelry thread. So I am going to do that, and I will put that up in our Ravelry group as well. So you can find all the information in there. If you've got any questions, then feel free to ask questions as well. Okay, sorry, one more piece of admin before we can get on to the nitty goodness. I'm aware that this has taken quite a long time before we get to the knitting content today. But the last thing, I just wanted to do a shout out for Amy of Hudson Valley Knits. She is hosting it's an annual CAL that she hosts, an annual knit along, and she calls it the Senior Love Along. And she just wanted us to give a bit of a shout out to it to see if people are interested in being involved. So basically, the concept is that you knit a small gift and it's for senior veterans in America. I think there's a veterans care home near where Amy lives, and every year they go and they do a big party, and she collects, through her knit along, she collects all these little gifts to take and give to the veterans. So if anyone's interested in being involved, what she asks is that you knit various things. I mean, the things she's listed in her thread are 100% cotton washcloths, little ornaments, little stuffed toys, little sort of little bags or lap blankets, anything like that that could be a nice gift for an elderly person. And then she'll collect these together and she will go and donate them to the thing. But she also has a thread in her group and there are prizes. So if you do knit any of these things and send them to her, then put some finished objects in her thread. And as a thank you, she will draw prizes at the end of the knit-along. I haven't got the dates for the knit-along. I think it finishes in November. But it is open all year, so you can add to it as and when you want. But I will link down below in the details for Amy's group, and I'll link to the thread for the senior love along. So if you're interested in taking part, then please do. I think it's a lovely thing that she's doing. And yeah, I think it's really, really lovely. Okay, so moving on now to my knitting content, finally. So this week for you, I have got two finished objects. I have got a whip, I have got a few new cast-ons, I've got a little bit of yarny goodness, and then I've got some shop news, and then I will finish as usual with my little behind the scenes section. So let's dive straight in to finished objects. And I'm trying really hard not to drop the camera because now I've changed my setup. The laptop is precariously balanced on our bed. Our bed is just here. You are on my bed. On a pile of books to make it high enough and kind of propped to try and make it level. But of course, anytime I touch the mattress, things move slightly. So I'm trying really hard not to knock it. Anyway, tangent again. 1 week I am going to do, so I'm just moving my phone out of the way. 1 week I am going to do a little tangent tally at the bottom here, and every time I go off on a tangent from what I was saying, I'll put a little tally up and we'll see how we get to the end. I'm not doing it this week, but another week. Okay, so as I was saying, moving on to finished objects. So my first finished object this week is Thom's stripy socks. And going off on another tangent, you may notice, if you didn't watch my Fibre East haul video, which is perfectly fine, if hauls aren't your thing, then that is fine, but you may notice that I have got something this week that I haven't had in previous weeks, and that is sock blockers. I am very excited to finally have some sock blockers. And I picked these up from the Yarnistry shop at Fibre East, and they are amazing. So I'm actually going to take a sock off one of these just to show you them. They are turquoise dinosaurs, and Arthur loves these. But anyway, I'm very pleased with them. So moving away from the sock blockers, these are obviously a little bit small for Thom's socks because he has bigger feet than me, and these are for my feet because I usually knit socks for me. Okay, I finished Thom's stripy socks. And as you can see, these are inverted. So I love it. I love how they look. I'm so pleased with these. And I invented this this striping pattern. But it's very simple, and actually all the details for the pattern, so the basic recipe for this sock pattern, I've put in my Ravelry project page for these socks, because just in case anybody wanted to know how to get the number of rounds that I've used to get this striping thing, I've put that in there. But I love them. I'm so pleased with these, and Thom absolutely loves them, and they fit him, which is the most important thing. And I've talked about the yarns for these before. So if I give you a bit of a better shot of those stripes, you can see the stripes, the thickness of the stripes changes as you move down the sock. I've shown these before, but I knit these in Cascade Heritage in their 4-ply sock base. So this is a 75-25 merino nylon sock base, and as I said, it's a 4-ply. And I knit with these two colours, and these are Pumpkin is the orange one, and Moss is the green one. And Thom chose these colours, as I've said before. And actually, I measured these, and I've got nearly 100 grams here still, which is kind of obvious because I guess I had 200 gram skeins to make these socks, and I've got nearly 100 grams. I've got over 100 grams. I think these were about 75 grams, these socks. So actually, I've got enough to knit him another pair of socks in these two colours if he wanted, or to do something else with these. But anyway, I've got quite a lot of that left, which is quite nice. But yes, so Cascade Heritage and Thom's Stripey socks, and these are an entry for the summer stripe along. So actually now I've finished 3 summer stripe along projects, which I'm quite pleased with. Right, so my second finished object requires my sock blockers back again, and now I'm like, where am I going to put the yarn and everything like that? Let's put that there and hope I don't knock the camera too much. Thom will be happy that he can now put these in his sock drawer, which is just behind me, and I am purposely sitting in front of this cabinet behind me because we've got a thing on top of the chest of drawers which you can just see there, but it's a right mess. It is just shoved full of stuff. So fortunately you can't see it properly because I'm in the way. But these can go in his sock drawer, which he will be very pleased with. Okay, so let me slip one of these onto the sock blockers. So I finished my Times Square socks. And this is a pattern by Mina Phillips of Knitting Expat. And this is part of the New York Sock Club Pattern Club, which I've been knitting throughout the year, which I'm sure those of you who've watched me regularly will know. I've shown quite a few of these, and this is pattern number, see now I can look at my socks and work it out. This is pattern number this is pattern number 4 of 7. Yes, I'm 2 patterns behind. The 6th pattern got released on the 1st of August, and I've not yet knit the 5th pattern, so I need to catch up a little bit. But yeah, it's fine. That's fine. So anyway, so these are the come on, camera, focus on it. These are the Union Square socks, and here they are. And there's a lovely, I think you can see it quite well there. It's a sort of a mock cable down the front. And as I've said before, I love her patterns because I like that you don't do the pattern on the back of the leg. I like that you still get the sort of stocking stitch on the back of the leg and the pattern on the front. I think it gives a nice way to show off the yarn. And I knit these as I showed you last week. I did a garter stitch heel, and I'm sorry, these are getting blown out a little bit because I'm in front of the window. But a garter stitch heel, which is basically just still the German short row heel, but you knit every row instead of purling every row. And I'm looking forward to wearing them and trying that out. And as I said when I showed the yarn for these before, and I have got a full pair, I just thought it was easier to only put one on the sock blocker. But you know what? I've got sock blockers, so why don't I put them both on the sock blockers? And then I can show you them both. I knit these out of Rosie's Moments yarn, and the colourway is called Splashes, and it is an 80/20 merino nylon, I believe. Yes, there is her label, Rosie's Moments, and her details. She's got an Etsy shop. Come on, focus. Ooh, it's getting blown out. Anyway, I'll link it all down below. And it is, yeah, so it's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and the colourway is called Splashes. It's obviously a 4-ply fingering weight for socks, and it's really pretty. So there we go. I finished a pair. I'll leave these on actually because I haven't taken any photographs of these yet. And I really enjoyed this yarn, just with the splashes of sort of purple, turquoise and pink. And then every so often there was a random little blip of yellow, and I don't know if you can see it there, if the camera would focus. Yeah, there you go. A random little blip of yellow, which is quite fun. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed knitting these. I have to admit, I didn't get on with these as well as I have with some of the other socks in the Pattern Club. But I think that's purely because I don't knit a lot of cables. I want to rectify that, and I want to start trying some more cables again. But and it was a mock cable, so it just involved like a fake, you didn't have to use a cabling needle or anything like that. But I don't knit a lot of cables, so my experience of cables is limited. So I think I found it a little bit more fiddly doing this than some of the other patterns. But I've done them and I do love them and I'm so pleased with them. There are a couple of mistakes in them in a few places where I messed the cable up a little bit. I think that one must be the first sock, so I will show you the mistakes because I'm honest about them. You can just see at the very top here, this top cable didn't go quite right. It went in the wrong direction. And then somewhere here, oh yeah, you can see just here where my finger is, that cable went wrong too. I don't know quite what happened. I think I just got my rows wrong. But that's it. And to be fair, in the scheme of the entire sock, that's not bad. I don't think that's bad at all. And you really can't tell unless you look closely for it. So I'm very happy with those. So those are my Times square socks. I keep wanting to call them the Union square socks, but those ones were the Union square socks. So these are my Times square socks. And so for the, and I didn't say, for the cuff and the toe, which I'm sure I've mentioned before, I used a Drops Fable yarn. And actually originally it was the light pearl grey, but this is the one I spilt the tea on, so I overdyed it. And in fact I overdyed this one with food colouring to make it turquoise. And yeah, so there's the yarns. And again, I've still got quite a lot of this left. I do tend to have, I haven't weighed these socks yet, I do tend to have quite a lot left. I've not got massive feet. I've got, what, UK size 6 feet, which is a European 39. No idea what it is in American. I want to say an 8, but I'm not sure if that's right. So not massive feet. So yeah, I've got quite a lot of this yarn left, so that will have to go into something else. But it is really, really pretty. And this is how you can make mini skeins. You see, when you get yarn like this left over, it doesn't take much to wind off 5 to 7 grams of this. And in fact, Mina Phillips, Knitting Expat, has got an amazing little tutorial video, which isn't really even a tutorial video, where she shows you how she winds up mini skeins. And she does it round an A4 book. Whoops. So she basically takes an A4 book like this, damaged a bit, yeah, an A4 book like this. And she just takes the yarn and she just wraps it round and round and round, and then weighs this so that she knows how much has been taken off, and then you just slide it off, tie a knot at the top. I'm just showing you, you can't even see it. You can't see it at all. So you'd wrap it round and round and round, and then you'd tie this, you'd cut the yarn, tie these two bits together, slide it off with your fingers in the middle, and then twist it up into a skein of yarn, the same way you would twist a normal skein if you unskein the loop. But yeah, I'll check her video out. It's really, really good. It might actually have been, sorry, I'll just stick that back in there. It might actually have been in one of her episodes, and the camera's decided not to focus on me again, hasn't it? Come back to me. I'm here. No. There we go. It might actually have been in one of her episodes that she did it. I'm not sure which. But I'm sure there'll be videos on YouTube that can show you how to do that. But it's really, really easy. Okay, so that is all my finished objects for the week. So let's move on to works in progress. That tea is actually quite nice. I'm drinking chamomile and spearmint, which I've never had before, but I wanted something that was going to be a little bit calming. And it's quite nice. Right, so I've only got one work in progress that you have seen before, and that is my zombie Rainer shawl. So this is the Rainer shawl pattern, which, as I keep saying week after week, I can't pronounce it. I think it's by Nura Livola, something like that. Again, it will be linked down below in the show notes. And I've not made a lot of progress on this, I'm afraid. I've started the next lace section. So last time I recorded, I was where the elephant is, my progress elephant. So I was still in the garters. I was just towards the end of that garter section. I've moved on from the garter section, and I'm halfway through, I think, or maybe a little bit more than halfway through. I could check the pattern and then I'd know, wouldn't I? I am, oh no, I'm over halfway through. I've got four more rows of the eyelet section left until I go back to garter. So I'm over halfway through the shawl, but yeah, I haven't made a lot of progress on this, but I'm still really happy with it. It's just not quite grabbing my attention some evenings. I've got a bit sidetracked with a couple of other projects and with finishing up these socks and things like that. But that's fine. It will get done. It will get finished, and I do love it. And the yarn for this, as I've mentioned before, this is Owl About yarn. And the colourway is Zombies, hence it is a zombie rainer shawl. And I'm afraid the cake is getting a little bit messy. But it is this gorgeous sort of speckled purple with hints of red and cream and blue. And it's knitting up beautifully. I'm really, really enjoying how this is knitting up. It's really, really pretty. But hopefully next week I will have a bit more progress on that, because I want to get this shawl finished so that I can cast on another shawl, which I'm very excited about, with some of the yarn I picked up at Fibre East. Okay, so that is that. Oh, and the yarn, I didn't really talk about the yarn, as usual I forget, but the yarn, as I said, is Owl About yarn in the zombie colourway, and it's a 75-25 merino nylon, and again it's a 4-ply weight, and the Rainer pattern is a free one skein shawl pattern on Ravelry, which again will be linked down below. But that is the only current work in progress that I have in terms of work in progress that you've seen before. I do have a few new cast-ons. In fact, I've got 3 new cast-ons. So my first new cast-on is in here. And this is just a pair of vanilla socks. Right, go there. Okay, so this is a pair of vanilla socks. Here we go. Oh, I can't quite. This is a pair of vanilla socks, and this is in London House Yarns. She's going to get really blown out. If I can get it to, no, still really blown out. This is in London House Yarns, and it's the Honeydukes colourway, I believe. And as you can see, it's a self-striping. It's also a stellina base. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, no, not really. This is the first sock, and I have done the heel. I've just done the heel, and I'm now working down the foot. So this is the yarn in the cake, and it is really going to get blown out. I need to... Where is there no light shining? No, you can't see that at all. Anyway, it is gorgeous. It is pink, sort of a pale pastel-y pink, with a minty green and a slightly darker green, and then this sort of creamier section has got area speckles of the pink and the greens within it. And it is stunning. It's just a shame that it's getting completely blown out on the camera. But yeah, so the one thing I wanted to say about this, it's just a vanilla sock. However, I am knitting this on little tiny 9-inch circulars. I started it on Magic Loop. And what I have learnt is that little tiny 9-inch circulars loosen up my gauge horrendously. So this is going to be probably far too big. So these are going to have to be sort of slouchy bed socks for at home. And I don't know if you can see the difference. Let us see if we can show you this. Let's get it focused. Okay. So up until this point here, up until this pink stripe, I was on Magic Loop. With the same size needle, so still a 3mm needle, but I was on Magic Loop. From this creamy stripe down, I've been on the circulars, and to my eyes, I can see the difference in the size in it. And actually, I think you can see it there. You can really see how it's sort of coming out more here. So it's going to have quite a slouchy leg. What I have done is I put in a German short row heel, and then I've actually decreased somewhere in here. I've actually done a couple of decreases. I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see them, just above the hole, which I will sew up. I've done a couple of decreases. So I've gone down from 60 stitches, which is what I normally do for a vanilla sock. I've actually gone down to 56 stitches for the foot. And 56 stitches is what I tend to do for the New York Sock Collection socks, because the patterns, the small size in the pattern calls for 60 stitches, and that seems to fit me okay. So I've gone down to 56 stitches for the foot, because I figured that if the foot's really loose and baggy, that won't be very good. But I don't mind the leg being a little bit slouchy. But yeah, so we will see. I have interrupted the stripe, as you can probably see here. I have interrupted the stripe. I could have put a heel in this, a contrast heel in this, and kept the stripe. I could even have attempted an afterthought heel. That might have been more sensible. But I was out at the park when I was knitting these, and I got to putting the heel in, and I just thought, oh, I'm just going to put the heel in, which is fine. I quite enjoy the way a self-striping goes for the heel. So I don't mind the fact that the stripes have been interrupted at that point. And I will try and match them when I cast on the second one, so the interruption of the stripes should be the same on the second sock as well, which is fine. As long as the socks match, I don't mind. Okay, so that is my Honeyduke socks. And I probably will, if I get them finished, I will enter these into the inside number 23, the Harry Potter knit-along, because obviously Honeydukes, they're Harry Potter themed. But yeah, I really enjoy these. The self-striping is lovely. And I am really enjoying them. And I'm really enjoying working on the 9-inch circulars. Although it's loosening up my gauge, I am really enjoying working on them. So at some point in the future, I might have to invest in some smaller 9-inch circulars so that I can sort out my gauge issues. But for vanilla socks, I think they're really good. Yeah, I was worried it was going to be too fiddly, but actually it's fine. And I've knit so much of this sock really quickly. I mean, bearing in mind that Fibre East was last Sunday, and I've worked on other projects, and I'm not the fastest knitter, from Sunday I've knit the whole leg of that sock and done the heel, which for me is quite good. So that is my London House Yarn sock, and she's actually changed her labels since I bought this one, but there is her label, her old label. And yeah, I'm really pleased with this. Really pleased with the progress on those. Okay, so I've got another new cast on. And that is living in here. So this is the Southern Charm cowl. I just need a bit more tea. It's really hot and muggy today, and I've got the window closed because, as I've said before, we live right near the motorway, so the traffic noise would be horrendous if the window was open. But I'm getting quite warm. She says drinking tea as if it's going to cool her down. So this is the Southern Charm cowl, which is a new pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it is by Diane of Suburban Stitcher. She's recently released this. And it's kind of a recipe pattern, but I loved her version, and I wanted to do something that I could use as like a shop sample for my mini skein pack, and my Disney Princess mini skeins. So I thought I would do one of these, because that's exactly what she did. She used it to show off her yarn. So I've only started. I've done the first. Woo! Losing yarn. I've done the first section, and I've got unfortunately my needles for this are a little bit short. They're supposed to be on a 60cm needle, and I've only got a 40cm needle in the size that I needed. But so they're on, I'll spread it out a little bit for you. They're on, hang on, what am I trying to do? There we go. They're on a 40cm, so it's a little bit hard to show you. But here it is. And it is lovely because you just start with a rib, and then you have a section of what you have. The first mini goes in, and then you have this little eyelet sort of border section. I can't tell if that's focused on it or not. Come on, camera. There you go. This little eyelet border section, and then you go into your next colour, and then in between, so in between each colour you have this little eyelet border section, which is lovely, and it adds a nice texture because it's kind of a garter eyelet rather than a stocking stitch eyelet, so it works really, really nicely. So this colour is my Merida colourway from the Disney Princess pack, so it's the sort of a tealy blue, which to me looks a bit washed out, but we'll see how it looks when I actually edit the video. Sometimes it looks better than what I see here. A tealy blue with an orangey red and a golden yellow, which is Merida in her princess dress. And I love the way that this knits up. I really enjoy variegated colourways that tend to do sort of spirals like this. I find it really fun to knit up. It's almost like it's striped, but it just spirals around. So I really enjoyed this. And it makes me want to knit a pair of socks out of this colourway, but of course I've only got it in mini skeins, so it wouldn't quite work. But it does make me very tempted to actually dye this colourway up as a 100-gram skein. Okay, so then of course I'm going to add, and then I've just started adding in Cinderella, which is that variegated blue, and then I've got the rest of the mini skein pack to add in. I think after Cinderella I'm adding in Belle, which is the yellows and brown, and then I'm going to be adding in Aurora, which is sort of that variegated pink, which is washing out, and then after that, sorry, I'm going to be adding in Pocahontas, which is tans and then a pop of turquoise in there. And I'm using Storm Cloud, which is my dark grey semi-solid, as the other bit. Although this is slightly more tonal than my normal Storm Cloud, because I just dyed up a couple of minis. I dyed up a couple of minis of this. I dyed up a couple of minis of this to use in this project. So it did come out slightly more tonal than it normally does on the 100-gram skein, but that's fine. It's still Storm Cloud. So I'm quite excited about getting this done. I want to see how it looks, and I thought it would be a useful sort of sample to have for photographs in the Etsy shop to go with the pack, so people can see how the yarn knits up. And in case you're interested, while I'm here, see this box up here is where I store all the shop yarn. And I can't find the one I'm looking for. Oh no, it was that one. Of course it was that one. If you're interested, while I am here, I can show you quickly the minis in a mini skein. So that is Merida. That's how it looks in the skein. That is Cinderella. That is Aurora. That is Belle. And where is there? There. And that's Pocahontas. So that's all of them in the pack of 5 that you get. Anyway, diversion. So yes, so that is my Southern Charm cowl, and as I said, it's a pattern by Diane of Suburban Stitcher, and I'm knitting it out of Giddy Yarns. And the yarns are all, the minis are all 4-ply, and they're all a 75-25 merino nylon base. Yeah. So I've got a little project page as well, and all the information will be linked down below. The pattern, as I said, is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'm quite excited about it. I think it's going to look really fun. Right. What else have I got? Right, I've got one more work in progress. And that is a crochet project. And I fell down a little bit of a crochet rabbit hole, as I've heard it called before. And I started a granny stripe blanket. Now mine's not as wide as a lot of people's because I was aiming for it to be sort of single bed sized rather than double bed sized, but actually it is quite wide. I think it's going to be wider than a single bed, but that's fine. I can't remember how many stitches I chained to start with. I followed the Attic 24 Granny Stripe blanket pattern, which a lot of people have used, and I'll link it down below. But yeah, I succumbed and I started one. And I'm really enjoying it. It is really, really therapeutic. And I've put quite a lot of, I haven't actually done a lot in this in the last few days, but I've put quite a lot of progress on this for me. And I'm just adding in a Nora George mini at the moment, which is a gorgeous sort of pale pink, semi-solid. And I'm not really doing a lot of management with this. I'm kind of trying to spread out any stellina bases. I mean, I've got one stellina in just there, which I don't think you'll be able to see, but it's actually a bronze stellina, this pink bit there. It's a bronze stellina. And I'm trying to do, yeah, if it's a small amount I've got left over, I will use it all up. If it's a larger amount, then I will do no more than 2 rows. So no more than a sort of a 2-row stripe in it, and then I'll just use the leftovers for something else. But no, it is very therapeutic. And I started this for a reason, because as I'm sure some of you are aware, I have got, oh, and I'm using a 3mm hook, which is a Knit Pro one, in my favourite colour, purple. I've got another crochet blanket on the needles. So why aren't you just crocheting everything into that? And I am. I'm using my leftovers from my scrappy crochet blanket. And I was just going to show you a tiny bit of this. And the reason I am not currently working on this is that I have run out of the Cascade Heritage Grey that I'm using to join it all together. So I'm doing a granny square. This is double bed sized. I am doing a granny square blanket, and I've got 2 rows of it done so far, but I have run out of the Cascade Heritage Grey that I'm using to join it all together. And I could just buy some more, but I've just been to Fibre East and I've bought lots of yarn, and I need to not spend too much money on more yarn. So it's taken a little back seat at the moment, but I have got a load of squares to put in, and I'll go through these all properly once I've actually joined them. But I've got lots and lots and lots of squares joined in, and then I got to the stage where I had no more grey to border them, so it's had to take a little bit of a back seat. But I mean, I've got the end of my Merida that I've put in here, which will get, oh, I need to weigh it first actually to see if I've got enough left of it to put into the blanket, but we'll see. Doing that blanket as squares means that I only use about 5 to 6 grams of yarn per square. So normally a mini skein comes in 10 or 20 grams, or you have leftovers from a project and you usually have more than 10 or 20 grams left over. So I actually have leftovers of my leftovers, and I've currently got, so this bag here has got all the leftovers from, so these have all been added into my my granny square blanket, and that's what I've got left of them. So this is what's getting added into the stripe blanket now, as long as I've actually got some bigger leftovers as well, but I didn't bring them through. So yeah, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's, sorry for all the crinkling, it's a really, really therapeutic project, and it's just nice when I get to that time of evening where I'm a bit tired and focusing on knitting, and I just want to do something a bit different. And it's also really handy for doing when the boys are around, because you can just put it down at any point. There's no, oh, I must finish this row before I put it down. You know, I need to do this bit before I can put it down. You can just stop, and it's fine. And if it gets caught by the boys and a little bit of it unravels, then it's not the end of the world, because it's so quick to just fix. So I am loving that. And it is a variety of yarns, so I'm not going to go through all the yarns of it. You've seen them all before in my square blanket. Okay, so that is all my current knitting projects, my works in progress, my new cast-ons, and my finished objects. Now, despite having just spent loads and loads and loads of money, birthday money admittedly, at Fibre East, And if you wanted to see, if you haven't checked it out yet and you want to see what I bought at Fibre East, I did a separate haul video because I did come back from Fibre East with quite a lot of yarn, and I'm aware that some people say they don't like to see a large haul of yarn being shown on a podcast. I love it because it's nice to sort of get to know new dyers that I've not seen before, and things like that. But I can understand that some people don't. So I did a separate video for that specifically. So if you wanted to see what I bought at Fibre East, then go and check that out. Obviously, throughout this podcast, you'll get to see it because I'll knit with it. But anyway, so despite having just spent all that birthday money there, I have got a tiny bit of yarny goodness to show you this week. And actually, this comes with a spoiler warning, which I nearly forgot. This only arrived in the post on Thursday, maybe. And it is a yarn club, a surprise yarn club. So if you have ordered the Peggy May Yarns Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire yarn box, and you haven't received or opened yours yet, then please look away. I will put my spoiler warning in now. Okay, so I received mine. Obviously, I ordered this a couple of months ago, so I don't really count it as having spent money now because I ordered it a couple of months ago, and it arrived this week, which was lovely. So this is the yarn for, it's the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire inspired yarn box, and it's a 4-ply yarn, so it's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and the colourway is Fleur Delacour. And it's beautiful. It's this really sort of lovely, it's still sort of got the undyed sections in there, but it's this gorgeous sort of turquoisey blue. And she's got some sort of more turquoisey blue speckled sections in there as well. And it's really simple, but it's really pretty. And I've got no idea what I'm going to do with this. It feels a little bit too simple in colours to be socks for me. I usually like my socks to have a bit more colour to them. But it would work, it might work very nicely in some kind of shawl, or as part of another project, or maybe it will become socks. I do not know yet, but it will live in my stash. And there is her label, if it doesn't blow out. Oh no, perfect. PeggyMay.co.uk, and there's all the yarn details of there. And it came with as well a little witchy progress keeper with a little witch on a broomstick, which is super cute. And I have ordered the Order of the Phoenix yarn box because I just kind of felt, and Thom said the same, which was quite funny because you kind of expect your husband to say, oh no, you shouldn't be ordering more yarn. Thom was like, well, you've ordered the other 4, you need to get the whole set, don't you? So yeah, I do need to get the whole set. Oh, sorry. So that will be arriving at the end of August, I believe. But that was my yarny goodness for the week. Okay, so that is all my knitting and yarny content for the podcast. I wanted to do a little bit of a shop news section. Just to show you, I've got some bags that are going into the shop. In fact, they've gone into the shop this morning. So I've got this lovely flamingo bag, and these are all my little drawstring bags that I do. I wanted to put drawstring bags in the shop, and these are inexpensive. They're £10 a bag, and they are the ones I use myself. So that's got my cowl with all the minis in. That one's got my London House Yarns socks in. So they're the ones I use myself, and I love them. And I wanted to put just some inexpensive project bags in the shop, because a lot of project bags, and I can understand why, because they use amazing fabrics, they're doing more complicated techniques using zips, so it takes longer, and things like that. But I find that project bags can often be quite expensive. And that is absolutely no reflection. I don't mean to say that people are charging too much for them, because I don't think they are. When they're interfaced and they've got zips on them and they've got all the special tags and little loops and little keychains, and they use design, you know, fabric design lines of fabric that are a lot more expensive, then I think that is perfectly fine. But I just thought it would be nice that to make available some cheaper project bags for those of us who can't justify the cost of £30 on a knitting project bag. So these are a tenner. They are £10, and they're just a bit of fun, and they're simple drawstring bags. This one's flamingos, and it's got a spotty pink lining, and they do have boxed bottoms. They're not interfaced, so they are quite soft, but I love that because you can just, you know, I can just do one up, and I can just shove it in my handbag, and it doesn't really damage the bag in any way. So flamingos. I've got another Flower Power one. This one is a blue Flower Power, and it has got purple stripes for the top, and it's got a yellow spotty lining. And I just love the way that the high contrast looks when you pull the drawstring. So there's that one. I've got cactuses. This is very similar to my cactus bag that I made for myself. But this one has got a blue spotty lining, which again gives you a nice contrast when you pull the top. But yeah, really cool cactuses. I've got toucans, again similar to my one that I've got here, but this one has got a bright orange lining and pink stripes, so again you get a nice high contrast. And finally I've got skulls, and these are white sugar skulls, really brightly coloured. It's got a pink striped top, and then it's got a black, show you the lining first, shall I? A black paisley lining, and again you get the nice high contrast with the black lining and the pink stripes. So those have gone into the shop today, and as I said, they're £10 each, so they're relatively inexpensive, but they can hold. They're definitely big enough for a one skein shawl. They're definitely big enough for sock projects, and in fact I had Thom's socks in one of these, and that had 200-gram skeins of yarn and the sock project, and it was perfectly fine space-wise. So that's what's currently going in the shop. Obviously there is still yarn stocked in the shop, which I have shown you over the last few weeks. I'm not sure if I've actually shown you my most recent yarn that's been added to the shop, and I've not got it out. I wonder how accessible it is. Let's just get this down, shall we? Oh, here you go, there's a skein here. Excuse the rustling, I can show you that. Oh, I've got nowhere to put this now. Let me see if I can put it back. Oh. So I've got a couple of skeins of this in the shop, and this is another Wizard of Oz inspired colourway, and this is Wicked Witch. It's on a 75-25 merino nylon base, and it is, half the skein is black. Well, it's a very tonal black, sort of more of a dark grey really, and then the other half of the skein is green, and it's a very tonal green with flashes, speckles of yellow and speckles of darker green and teal. And as usual, the green gets washed out, but the pictures are very good on the page, and you can check out the website for more pictures of this as well. In fact, that's a nice bit there. And this is Wicked Witch, and I think this would make really, really fun socks. And in fact, at some point I might steal a skein of this and make socks for Thom. So yeah, so that went into the shop on my birthday last week as well. Okay, and I have got, sorry, I dropped the camera then. I've got some plans for the shop that I wanted to talk to you about. And I'm aware that this is getting quite a long episode, but if you're not interested in the shop stuff, then that's fine, obviously. You've probably already gone and you're not listening to me anymore, which is fine. So, 1st of September, I will be doing a shop update, hopefully. And in there, I am going to be putting a couple of pre-orders, which I'm hoping will be popular and won't just be a complete waste of my time. But we will see. So a lot at the moment, there are a lot of advent calendars out there for mini skeins, and I've seen a couple of other places doing similar to what I thought of doing. Annoyingly, I saw them doing it after I'd come up with the thought myself, and I was like, oh, I thought I'd had an original idea, but obviously not, but that's fine. So I'm going to put up pre-orders for a 12 Days of Christmas mini skein set. And there'll be 4 options. Option 1 will be minis only, so you will receive 12 different mini skeins individually wrapped for the 12 Days of Christmas. And then option 2 is the 12 mini skeins plus a 100 gram of a Christmas themed yarn, and that will be on a stellina base, because you've got to have stellina for Christmas, haven't you? And then option 3 will be the 12 mini skeins and a Christmas themed project bag. And then option 4 is 12 mini skeins, a Christmas themed project bag, and the 100 gram skein of stellina yarn. So that will be the first pre-orders that are going up. So, sorry, coughing fit. What was I saying? I haven't quite worked out all the costings, but I think I'm looking at charging at about £36 for the minis only. And then that will obviously be, they'll obviously be slightly more expensive depending on what options you decide to have with it. Then the second pre-order that I'm going to put up is for those of you who aren't fussed on mini skeins. I'm also going to put up a pre-order for the Christmas bags, the Christmas yarn, or a set of the 2. So the options will be to just get a Christmas project bag, just get Christmas yarn, which again will be the same yarn as with the minis, but on the same stellina base, or both. So it will be a yarn and bag set. And I'm putting up pre-orders for them so that I know how much people want and I don't end up dyeing up a lot of the yarn and then not selling. Okay, so thinking about things before Christmas, on the 1st of September I'm also hoping to list, and these will be ready to buy, these won't be pre-orders, I will be listing a couple of Halloween colourways, 2 or 3, I'm not quite sure yet, I haven't decided, but 2 or 3 Halloween colourways. And also I've got some new sort of autumnal colourways that I'm hoping to put in the shop on the 1st of September as well. So that's all my shop news. And I will move on now to behind the scenes. Okay, so for my behind the scenes section this week, I thought I would just talk a little bit about Fibre East. Now, I'm not going to go and show all the yarn that I bought and things like that. If you want to see that, as I've said before, check out the previous video. It's episode 12.5. But I just thought I'd talk a little bit about my experience there. And it was amazing. And it was very interesting. So there were a lot of stalls there were a few stalls that I'd seen before. Fibre East. There are a few stalls that I'd seen before. People like Rosie's Moments, Sheep on Mars, who I've bought from before, Sparkle Duck, John Arbon. There were quite a lot of stalls that I'd seen before, but there were also a lot of new ones. I think it was bigger than Unravel. I think there was more there. It was my first time going. And I really enjoyed checking out, there were some stalls I really enjoyed looking at. Third Volt Yarns, for example, which I've mentioned before. Truly Hooked, Paper Stories. I really enjoyed looking at their stall. I could have bought the whole stall. I really enjoyed looking at, there's other one called, I can't remember what it was called. It must be in here somewhere. Which I really enjoyed. Hey J, that was the one. Hey J Hand Dyed Yarns. She had some lovely colourways on her stall as well. I could have bought the whole of Fibre East, to be fair. But yeah, it was lovely. But the one thing that I really noticed, and this is even just since sort of the difference between Unravel and Fibre East, and I don't know if that's because I don't know if maybe there's a difference in the type of sales they make at Fibre East versus Unravel, or whether it's just the fashions changing. But the one thing I really noticed was that a lot of stalls were stocking very different bases. So it wasn't just 75-25 merino nylon or 100% merino nylon. It wasn't just merino. And on Unravel, I found that a lot of the stalls did merino, which is fine by me because I love merino nylon. I love merino base. It's so versatile and so soft. But it was really interesting to see you were getting a lot of mixtures. There was a lot of alpaca. There was a lot of yarns that involved silk. You had a lot of sort of merino silk, like merino silk and cashmere, merino silk and yak, I think I saw. There was a lot of BFL. A lot of people were selling blue-faced Leicester yarn. And sort of blue-faced Leicester silks. There was a lot of different bases, which was really, really interesting. And I kind of feel now like I need to go and do a bit of research, and I need to go and explore some different yarn bases and things like that. Partly to see, because one of the things that I found was that I was, what am I trying to say? I'm not anxious, that's not quite the word I want. I was hesitant. I was hesitant about buying some of the yarns. I saw some colourways that I loved, but I was a bit hesitant about buying the yarns because I wasn't sure what I would do with the base. I wasn't sure whether it would be soft enough to wear as a shawl, or what I would do, how I would feel using the base, and what I would make with it. I mean, one of the stands in particular that I loved was Ovis Yarns, which again, I've talked about them before. And they had some amazing colourways, but they did a lot of blue-faced Leicester. And I've not knit a lot with blue-faced Leicester, and they had some amazing mixtures as well, which I think was blue-faced Leicester and is it Matcham? Which I've heard of, but again, I'm not 100%, I've not researched it properly. But they had a lot of sort of blue-faced Leicester and Matcham, and although the yarn colourways were beautiful, the yarn felt a lot more rustic, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not saying there is, but when you're used to knitting with merino all the time, I was a little bit hesitant about buying such a different base. And I kind of wish I did, because I'd love to try it out. And I did expand my horizons in terms of the type of bases that I bought this time, as you'll see if you watch the video. I did buy myself different bases. I didn't stick with merino nylon all the time. But yeah, so it was very, very interesting to see all these different bases and things like that. And I'd be very interested to go back next year, which I'm planning on doing. And in fact, next year it's on my birthday. So I can already plan my birthday activity for next year a year in advance. It is on the 28th of July. I think it's on the 28th and the 29th of July next year. So yeah, I think a lot of research needs to be done, and I might start looking at some different bases. Anyway, what was I saying? Fibre East was amazing. The other thing that was really nice was that it was held at Redbourne Upper School in Bedfordshire. Now, before we moved to Cornwall, because we moved to Cornwall, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, my family all live in Cornwall, and we moved to Cornwall when I was about 12. I think I had my 12th birthday whilst we were in the process of moving house. So we lived in Bedfordshire. We lived in a little village called Malden, which is about 2 miles from Ampthill, where Redbourne Upper School is. And in fact, if we hadn't moved to Cornwall when I was 12, I would have gone to Redbourne Upper School. And all my friends from the school I was at before we moved to Cornwall, they all went there. So it was really interesting to go and see this school that I could potentially have gone to if we hadn't moved house. And of course, as we were leaving, before we headed back to pick up Arthur, who stayed with a friend, we actually drove back through Malden and went and saw all the places that I could remember. We went and saw my old primary school. We went and saw the old church that we used to go to. And we even drove down and saw the old house that we used to live in. So that was lovely, sort of getting to drive back through some of all these old memories of all the places we used to live. So yeah, so that was really nice. We had a lovely, lovely day, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was very nice as well to actually have a day where it was just me, Tom and Jasper. Arthur, as a 3.5-year-old, can get a bit chaotic, and something like Fibre East, where he's just got to follow us around all day and he's not really interested, wouldn't have suited him. And he had a lovely day with my friend. They had a really good time. And we had a little bit of peace and quiet. In fact, Jasper slept for like 2 hours in the pushchair as we were walking around, so that was really nice. But yeah, we had a lovely day. Anyway, I will leave it there, and hopefully I will see you in 2 weeks' time. I am planning on, we are going to Cornwall for 2 weeks at the end of August. We go down on the 12th, so that's next weekend, next Saturday, we travel down to Cornwall, and we will be down there until the end of August. I am planning on recording whilst we are in Cornwall. I am going to take the laptop with me. I'm going to take the webcam with me. I will probably take most of my knitting projects with me. It will be a slightly limited episode, I assume, because I don't think I'll have absolutely everything with me. But I am planning on recording. So hopefully you will still have an episode in 2 weeks' time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And I will see you again, hopefully, in 2 weeks' time with some lovely yarny goodness and projects to show you. Okay, talk to you again soon. Bye.